Okay, we're back and browser on. So I am going to teach you guys how to hack. So HAC, HAC, just stands for highlight and contour foundation. I'm going to leave that light off for a little bit. And basically what we're saying is like, instead of taking a foundation and just like globally applying it all over your face and then putting your highlight and contour, blush, etc. over top of it, you're gonna do it all in one layer, one application, and then depending on the consistency, no, like the finish you want, you can set it or spray it, whatever you decide. So my first step is always to use a little bit of corrector. I don't use a lot. So I have been adjusting a little bit into using a blending sponge because I do like that finish. This one is not overly wet. Like I wet it yesterday, so it's like the leftover dampness from that. So my corrector is Mango, and it's just got just enough of that kind of orangey peachy undertone to counteract the blue that I have under my eyes. Right now. Yeah, you can start to see it's already doing its job. Next, I'm going to go in with my lighter highlight. So in a quad, we usually recommend that you get a highlight which matches your skin tone, a contour, an illuminator, and a blush. I personally, for me, and I think for more people, will get more use if they go with just a lighter version of their skin color, because it gives a nice matte highlight, which I think is a lot more natural. And if I were to invest in only one thing, it would be having that matte highlight versus a shiny one, because there's likely stuff in your collection right now that you can utilize as an shine, highlight. And of course, like, you can always get that stuff down the road. So I'm dipping into my second highlight, which is this little guy, and that is in the color called Aurora. Today I totally forgot to put on primer. I've been playing with a few different options. There's one my skin's been kind of going through phases. Sometimes it's really oily, sometimes it's a little bit more normal to dry. So when I'm feeling like I need a little bit of like slip or moisture to the skin, I use this Tarte Pore Smoothing Base Primer. So it's a pore filling one. And when I'm feeling like I am having an oily day, I use the Too Well Absorb Mattifying Treatment. So I think a sponge is a great idea. I have heard great reviews about the Maskcara brand Perfecting Sponge, and it's on my list for as soon as it comes back in stock. But in the meantime, like, I'm just using a beauty blender for now. I would recommend a sponge for application, whichever one you use, because it does help you control how much you're putting on your skin. Because I would say, like, the number one thing that I think people will have a hard time with is realizing how little product they need. I've actually been playing with different heaviness of application, and anytime that I felt like uncomfortable, it's usually because I went in super heavy, and it's just not necessary. As you can see, like, I've used the tiniest amount on here and it's doing its job. So this is a little more in depth, obviously, than the 5-minute faces I've been featuring. And that's simply just because sometimes we want to do a little more. And so Fridays, I'd like to showcase a little bit more full coverage and glam type looks. That's kind of set how I have my schedule laid out. Of course, like, it's just early days and I'm balancing the salon as well, but this is just like been a really exciting time for me, because I just love makeup so much. And I really felt like over the last couple of years that I have been just not embracing that part of my personality, and I took such a step back because I needed to focus on hair while I was in school. But it just feels good to be doing both. I really am feeling like now I'm coming into my own, and like my dream, my vision for what I want the Envy Society to be is really coming together. So it's an exciting time for me. So highlight is all placed. So you can, I'm trying to think of what I want to do. One thing that I think will help people a lot when it comes to placing contour, because that's a tricky thing, especially our faces are not necessarily symmetrical. Mine certainly isn't. So you have to decide if you either want to create balance between the sides or if you just want to go with where your natural features are. A lot of the time I think it's just better to go where your natural features are, unless there's like an extreme imbalance you want to correct. So an easy way to do that is to just tap. So this is my contour color here in olive. Tap on that, and then you can feel a hollow right here and just follow it all along. And I feel like when you use, like when you're using your finger, it really becomes very simple to get it in the right spot. And again, because it's this cream texture, it's super forgiving for blending out. So I sort of just lay out my baseline like that. And I like that little hug in there. There we go. And then kind of when I have an idea of where I want it to be, I like to take, this is the, can't think of the name off the top of my head all of a sudden, I think 30-second HAC brush. So I take the pointier side, which I think they actually market this as the highlight side, but I found I just prefer it for my contour. There we go. And then I can just like follow the original line I made, but intensify it. And I bring mine down a little bit like that. And again, it always looks a little crazy. Sorry that the light is switching on and off. This is my my makeup mirror, which I need to be able to see what I'm doing. There we go. And then, so every face is unique, and that's why I love this product. So you can see with mine, I have this little bit of a bump right in here along the jawline, and it's just, you know, part of my genetic makeup, my features, to be a little bit fuller in that area. That doesn't mean I love it. So I like to try to distract from that area, hugging that inside and bringing it down. Okay. Nose wise, I don't think you should contour if you don't need a contour. I actually quite like my nose. I don't have any problem with it. Sometimes I have a little bit of a bump right in here, but it's very minute. It's not enough for me to really care too much about. But you know, if you're feeling like you want to be extra chiseled, go for it. I more use it for warming the face at this point. So this contour shade, if you're only going to get 4, you need to just sort of make a decision if what you want is more to bring warmth to the face or if it's to create shadow. I really like olive because it's kind of like that neutral to cool. So the neutral aspect of it does warm up the face a little bit, and I can kind of double up as a bronzer that way. But it's not overly warm. Oh, I'm gonna kill this thing. It's not overly warm, so you're not getting like that orange line that people can get when they're using you know, certain brands of contours, or if you're using bronzer as a contour. So that's all in. Yeah, that's basically where I want it. And now I am actually going to switch things up a little bit, and I'm going to apply my blush color, because this one is I really like this nude color, but it's quite intense, so it can get out of hand. So I'm actually applying it with the powder brush, but I just like that for applying it. I don't really like it for applying powder. So I am actually just going to tap this in, and it's going to make me look like a clown, but that's okay, because I'm going to be using my main highlight as what I like to call a blending agent today. So I'm also going to sneak in here. I'm going to put a little bit of warmth. This is still my contour color in olive. That went down a little low, but that's okay. I'm going to put a little bit of warmth on my face because I am a little more tan than usual. And I like that look. So I personally, for my face shape, like it when my blush blends straight into my contour. I don't like there to be any separation. So that's why I've applied it in that kind of bizarre looking format. So finally, we go in with our, what we call our main highlight. And that's the one that's gonna match your skin. Or, like I like to say, you can use it as a blending agent because most of my skin is already covered. I just need to refine it. So for me, I'm using it more of a blending agent. I don't necessarily need a ton of coverage in these areas that I haven't put anything. So I just simply tap it in to my main highlight. And my color is wheat. I like a little bit more of a yellow because my skin tends to go that direction. I'm technically a neutral person, but I can pull quite warm as I get in the sun and such. Oh, and I think I just want just a little bit in here, and I kind of use it so anywhere where one color meets another, like here especially, where that blush is meeting that original highlight color, pop it in there. And there is nothing, like barely anything on my brush. I've literally just tapped it in to the product because I have found less is definitely more with this. So I'm a stippler in a lot of ways. I just sort of stipple where I want it to go. It's kind of the same method I use for eyeshadow actually too. So I kind of place color and then I blend color. There we go. So now I have everything where I needed to go. And at this point, you could continue with this or you could go with your perfecting sponge. So I think initially I'm just gonna buff. So I'm gonna switch to, from this stipple motion, I'm gonna switch to a circular motion. And all I'm doing is everywhere that there was a color before, buffing this in around the edges. So you'll notice like where that contour line is, I'm not blending up into it yet. I'm just buffing out that kind of carved line that we made. And now, and that's like that. Buff a little bit around in here. And I like to have a little sweep of it under my brows for shadow application. So that's looking, double check my mirror, sorry. Yeah, we're looking pretty blended in those areas. And now we can go in. And the reason why I like to do that is I just like to get any of the excess of the lighter color off my brush too. That helps blend it in. So now we can go through, and I use really gentle swirls to buff in that contour line. It's looking good. So you can see this is unblended versus blended. And as your skin kind of warms up, I like doing this sort of application where I place the product instead of smooth and blend as I go along, because as it warms up with your skin, the blendability is just increased. And that to me is how you get perfect seamless looks. There we go. So there you go. That is how you hack. At this point, you can do what I would call enhancements. So I'm actually going to dip my sponge back into the blush, and I'm going to just put a little bit extra here. And then you can kind of go through and tap around, pick up any excess, which there isn't any because I'm finding this method is key. It does a really good job. What do I want to do on my lips? I think I'll probably just keep it simple. A little bit of this on my lips. And there you go. That is how you do your hack. And so even with me explaining, let's put a light on in there. Even with me taking the time to explain it and probably put a little more care than I normally would, we are at 15 minutes for your full face. At this point, you can go ahead, throw on some mascara, call her done. I'm actually not going to set my face today because it's feeling a little bit on the dry side. You can add some shimmer, you can do whatever you like, go ahead with your eyeshadow, but you can also easily walk out the door and you're done. So thank you so much for tuning in and checking this out.